Welcome to I Don't Need an Acting Class with Milton Justice. Welcome back to another episode of I Don't Need an Acting Class. If you don't know who this is, don't panic, don't worry. Milton is still hosting the show. My name is Walker. I am the producer of I Don't Need an Acting Class. And if you're just tuning in again after a long time away, because we have been on a very long hiatus, this is season 8, and I will be introducing every episode. A lot of them, some of them will be from class, from Milton's class. Some of them will be from one-on-one coachings, and some will be kind of interviewing students or interviewing other actors that are working and have learned something or have solved a problem or made a realization or whatever it is. Something that Milton talks a lot about is it's important to kind of have a Monday morning quarterback session about your work. So in other words, if you have a great audition, afterwards, it's important to be able to sit down and say, why? Why was that audition so great? Or if it sucked, why did it suck? What didn't I do? What was missing? So in the spirit of that, today's episode is Milton talking with one of his students, J.P. McCloskey, who was just in the off-Broadway play Strange Snow by Stephen Metcalfe. And after the play closed, Milton sat down with JP to just discuss how he worked on the part, what he learned, what realizations he had, all of that. So that's it. I'm going to try not to talk long on these. Let's get right into it.
I wanted us to go through the play so that you could really specifically say, I had a problem with this. And the way I solved it was so that you can begin to cobble together what your process is and
Right.
what you look at and say, yes, I was never comfortable coming in and standing there. So we said, okay, so the way so that problem was not solved. So
Right.
now we can sit down and we can say, okay, what would have solved it? It would have solved it if I had built a specific relationship to the place that I walked into.
Right.
And a methodology that we have found that is useful for doing that is to talk it out. And then add to that, not just to report it. I don't think teachers spend enough time on the idea that it really isn't just reporting what you're seeing. It is having a specific relationship with what you're seeing. And in describing it, I get it. I mean, it's one of the things, I realize that acting is like learning to walk and talk all over again, but it is one of the things that we do normally in life. We normally in life will say, oh, so what's Marge's house like in East Hampton? Oh my God. So,
Right.
it's gorgeous. I mean, it's like, I think they must paint it once a month because it is so clean and so, but you see what I mean? In life, we describe things that way.
Right. Right.
And so we have to be able to do that when we're doing a play. We have to be able to describe it in a way that it affects us. And in doing that, in building that attitude, now I am someplace.
Right.
And the someplace that I am helps me because I'm not just acting in a vacuum someplace.
Right.
So that's a really important, I think that's really important.
That was a huge thing to learn. Yes.
So that's very good. So that just says, look, okay, so um the next starring role I have in a play, I'm going to make sure back to knowing where I am because it helps.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, the trouble was we spent 5 months and 3 weeks rehearsing in like a studio with no set, no props. And then we only had a tech run. And then like that first tech run, I spent the whole time, I'm like, where the hell am I? You
Yeah.
know, like, where do I stand? What am I doing here?
Well, Chris Carmack had this problem when he was doing Summer and Smoke. They'd been in a rehearsal room in London rehearsing before they opened in Manchester, and the set was nothing like he thought it was going to be. But
Oh,
he
wow.
had begun to visualize in his mind in the rehearsal room what the set was going to look like. So he was able to adapt it. But I think that's a thing. If you're
Right.
worried about if rehearsals are about the words, and if rehearsals are about that's how we rehearse, um, then it's like this missing step, which had you known, or had it occurred to you, that then you would have said, all right, let me just sit here and just visualize where I am, even though it's a rehearsal room.
Right.
And then you start to see it. Then when the real set comes along, you go around and talk it out again, and you adapt it. The lesson learned here is, I must know where I am.
Okay. Yeah.
I must be able to live off of where I am. So that's an important one. That's a really important one. Other problems you have, I mean, there are things that I noticed that work that you were worried about. You were having difficulty with the with the yelling at the beginning. Did the physicalizing help?
Yes. Yeah. I was going to say the physical gesture stuff that we worked on, and then the covering, it wasn't really covering an entrance, but there'd be things, little things that I would do backstage just that would just jumpstart me. So that wasn't just going from, JP to Meg's, just start yelling at the door.
Good.
That was super helpful.
I have to say, it's very seldom do you start a play by having to scream.
Scream, yeah. But
So
also the character work felt good with this one because I did think I finally got to a place of, of having a real character there and not JP.
good. How do you
All
think
of
that happened? Because every single actor I know has this problem.
I don't even know what exactly it was. Like if it was the changing the mindset and, thinking about like a lot of the times when I was walking down the street, I'd be thinking like, what is Meg's thinking right now? And then taking the character different places. Like just to warm up, I would take them to like a donut shop, ordering donuts and laughing about some rainbow donut or some frosting or something. And then being at like we talked about like at the playground and winking to the kids and stuff and making them laugh. Like eventually like saw the guy out there in the world, and then you know I think like a lot of times people try to get it from like the gestures or way of talking, but like the way his mind work, which is like the guy's, he's out in the world, he's trying to get out of himself, and then also talking about like the one thing that was really small that really helped a lot was when you said he made a checklist that morning of things that were he was going to do, get the sandwiches, get the beer, bring an extra fishing line. And I would walk myself through that and just eventually got his mentality down.
And how do you summarize what you're saying clearly? So the way that you moved from you to him
Mm-hmm.
was to give him activities outside of the play that he did. And
Yes.
so you would basically stand backstage and take him to these various places and see what he did. And in doing that, you were able to move into him.
Yes. Yes, that's a good way to put it. And it
That's
started with seeing him in the world, but then it moved into thinking like him and then being him, you know?
that's good. I think that's a really, really, really good.
Yeah, that is good.
That's a very good sort of progression. Seeing him in the world and then thinking like him,
Right.
which then allowed you to be him.
Right.
That's very good. That's
Yeah, I like that.
that's very profound. That's excellent.
Yeah, I love that.
All right, that's good because these are, it's like these are specific tools we have.
Yeah, this is great.
It's just like, and I think actors don't think about that. Actors don't think about, I wonder how he behaves when he's not in this play.
Right.
And so then when you start getting how he behaves, these questions come up all the time. Yes, but how do I move into him? Comes up with actors all the time. And so I think you have found a very good, specific way to do that, to just move into it.
Yeah, the etudes were very helpful too. That was a game changer because I've done it in the past, but here I really, really did it, and then I would do it like the war, right? Like, and that was a real, like a different challenge than the character. But, what we started with the research and then the very specific things. But then also, like you had me think about do the Bobby thing as Meg's now, looking back on it, and then do the Bobby thing as it's happening.
Mm.
That helped inform me because I think in the past, all I would have done is just do the Bobby thing as he's dying right now, and it's just horrific. But having Megs look back on it, I think was super helpful too, because it kind of informed where he was or how he sees things now,
Yeah.
now that it's over.
Again, that's not a paint by numbers. This is how you do it.
Right.
I think you really do have to figure out how to work building the past. And sometimes you build it from the present, and then sometimes it's more useful to actually be there. But in this case, because the past was so huge,
Yeah.
it wasn't something that you could do early on.
Right.
I mean, that to me is another thing that one has to do as an actor is to figure out what you're going to have to pay a bigger price for.
Right.
In other words, Bobby dying in my arms is huge. And so the reason we didn't build it right away is because you weren't ready, but aside from you weren't ready, you didn't know enough.
Right.
You would have built it from the point of view of I don't know, some half-ass idea of what must be going on. And that's where we dangerously move into. We
Most.
dangerously move into how would I respond in that circumstance? Which yes, but you wouldn't have been in Vietnam.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So how you would have responded in that circumstance is not really, I mean, you graduated from Rutgers for God's sakes. I mean,
Yeah.
It's like you would, there was no way, even if you had gone to the war, that you were going to end up being in the trenches.
Thanks for listening to I Don't Need an Acting Class. Feel free to check out our website, idon'tneedanactingclass.com, and you can also find us on Instagram, @I Don't Need an Acting Class.